Hey guys, what's up? So, we're getting near the 3 year mark with my business, and I'm making the 3 year anniversary drop. It's going to be out in less than a week. So, I thought that I would make a video that corresponds to like each year and tell you like how I went about things, like my steps. So, maybe you guys can gauge how you're doing and learn some things from me, because I'll definitely talk about like mistakes I've made and stuff I learned. So to begin with, so let's start with year one, and that was the when I started my brand. It was in 2017. That's when I opened the store, but it goes back a little bit before that. So when I was younger, when I was in high school, that's when I found a passion for like graphic design, and I started doing photography as well. And I had like the photo design class in high school. So that's where I kind of started to learn like those skills and develop them. And in the back of my head, I wanted to be like a t-shirt designer or like design shirts for companies, because I think that company Teespring was out at that time, and basically what they do is people design t-shirts and they basically produce them, and they use your designs, right? So you get royalties from that. And I was like, wow, that's the coolest thing ever. People are just designing t-shirts and getting paid for it, and some of them are selling like tens of thousands, right? And I was like, wow, that would be a really cool like job to just design fun stuff. And at that time, I was also into streetwear. One of my good friends, he worked at this really cool shoe store in our mall, and they had like a bunch of like streetwear I've never even seen before. You know, like Bape and Billionaire Boys Club, and just like Stussy and 10 Deep. Like I've never really seen those brands before, because we never had a streetwear store at that time that would carry that stuff. Like the only stuff I would see before would be like Nike, you know. And seeing all these weird obscure brands at that time really like showed me like that streetwear was a really big world, and there was a lot of people in it, like a lot of designers that were making products according to their vision, right? So that's what really got me into it. And I started the brand The Hundreds. They were also big at that time when I was in high school, and I really wanted some of their stuff. I wasn't able to get any though, but I was still inspired by like the whole, because like streetwear, obviously a huge part of it is graphic design, and like that was the part that really interested me, because I'm a designer at heart and a creative, so that's what I really liked about it. But until that point, I wasn't like, there wasn't any vision in my head about how I would go about getting to design shirts or something. But I kind of was in the back of my mind still thinking that I would be like a freelance designer. I've always been self-employed, and I've never wanted to sit at a desk that wasn't mine, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have lots of friends and people I went to school with that work at firms, and they have great careers, and that's totally awesome. That's really awesome. Like I have nothing against that. But for me, like I couldn't imagine myself doing that. So my plan from high school through college and beyond was always to be self-employed, no matter what job I was doing, even if I was digging ditches. I want to carve my own way through all of that, no matter what, right? So I went through high school, and I began college as well. I was in the design program at Western Washington University. And some of you watching this are probably from Bellingham as well, so you know where that is. Even if you are totally random and you follow me on Instagram, some of you do. So I got accepted into the design program, and I did that for a couple of years. And into either my second... it was my second year of college, I really got into photography, and I started to notice like Instagram was really popping at that time. This was 2016, and I was just every single night I would be taking photos with my friends. We would be out like late at night, just like hanging out, and I would just be my Instagram was like just I was posting stuff all the time. You can't see it right now because I kind of had a shift and I archived all this stuff. So I probably should post like you know, have a place to post all those photos. I took a lot of really great photos, and some of them got featured on some pages and stuff. They're just super cool, and they inspired my work, you know, back then, like design work as well. So I was taking a lot of photographs with my friends, and at the same time, I was following a lot of really cool independent streetwear brands, like one person that would be handling them, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like, how the heck do they do that? How do they run a brand by themselves, or even just like regular brands with multiple people, right? And at the same time, I saw people that were my age or younger doing like brands locally, like starting little brands and stuff, and I would offer to take photography for like those brands. And I also contacted brands with my friend online, because my friend was like kind of doing modeling on the side, and we would, you know, get some merch and take photos for them, like really good photos, not like crappy photos. So they would send us some stuff and we'd do that. And I probably did maybe like 5 or 6 photo shoots like that for local brands. Some of them were obviously extremely small, and some of them were like pretty big actually. So we just did free gigs like that just to experience that and have fun with it. It wasn't paid or anything, and I just, you know, offered to do that to get experience. And while that was occurring, I was thinking like, oh, like some of these aren't even like that cool. Like, not trying to be mean, but like some of them were just not that cool. Like, they were kind of plain and boring. And I'm like, you know, if they can do that, why can't I do that? Like, why can't I make something? And I was starting to get some cool ideas in my head. I'm like, dude, why I could like totally make something super cool and unique. Because a lot of brands, like small brands, they kind of start out and they're really generic, and you know, that's kind of the problem. And I was photographing stuff like that, and it was too generic. I'm like, man, I could do so much better than this. Like the quality, like of the clothing was all there, but like the designs were just a little bland, you know. So I kind of started like that. I was like, all right, well, why don't I start my own brand and see how it goes? I was like, this will be easy. I'll make something, sell a lot. I'm sure if you guys have started a brand, or you're growing a brand, or you're thinking of starting a brand, you're gonna have that thought, and let me tell you, it's completely wrong. Doing this is like the hardest thing ever. It's really difficult. Like, to start any business, it's really difficult. Anyone that says that they had an easy time starting a business, either they're like the 0.001% that got lucky somehow and entered into that, or they're just lying. Like, honestly, if business was easy, everyone would do it, right? If it was that easy to succeed or get somewhere or start getting the ball rolling, you know, then everyone would do it, right? No one would be doing something else, some job they hate. So what I did was, after that, I started staying up really late, and I was just like plugging down ideas, writing stuff down, looking at designs, looking at inspirations. I was following a lot of accounts, like clothing accounts, like I said, on Instagram. So I was just like getting fed all this really cool inspiration and ideas. And where I came up with the name Rubashka, I was looking for a name online, and I was like, you know, a lot of names are taken, right? I was looking up like trademark names. I was looking up all brand names, you know, and I was thinking of like cool ideas. So I went to the internet and I found a dictionary of obscure words, like in the English dictionary. And I was scrolling through them. Like, one of them was like Rubashka, and I was like, what the heck? Rubashka, that's like, well, all that is in like contemporary Russian is like a button-up shirt, right? And I've heard that word like so many times in our family because my dad obviously always wore those, like flannels and button-ups and like church shirts. And that's just like that's just like super common apparel for men in the USA and obviously in Europe, like Russia. But I was looking at it and I read the definition. It was like it's a peasant's shirt. It's the words, like what it really means is poor clothes. Like an original rubashka is like a piece of clothing that peasants wore, like, in the 1600s and that era, right? And obviously the word kind of changed a little bit and the form of the garment changed, but that's literally the original term for it, and that's like what it was back then. Because clothing and words kind of change over time, but that's what it was. And I was like, wow, that's a really cool, like, because I didn't know that. I just thought it was just a button up, and that's just the contemporary word, right? And I was like, wow, that's a really cool kind of history behind it, like peasants were like poor people. And I kind of feel that because I didn't grow up like in a rich family, or like my parents and we immigrated here in 1997, and I was like a toddler, so I grew up in America, but my parents like grew up in poverty in the USSR, and they experienced that lifestyle and all that. So it kind of had like a double meaning to me, like just like that history behind it, and growing up like that. And it was kind of funny because at that time I was also following like that clothing account, Vetements, or like people probably pronounce it Vitamins, but that brand, it means clothing in French, and that's their logo is just plastered over everything. And I was like, oh, that's really funny. Just you name your brand like clothes, right? I was like, well, I just do Rubashka, like just shirt, and and it's like all over everything. It's like on lighters and on stickers and hoodies and like everything. And it's kind of funny because if you're not if you're a Russian audience, like actually like you live in Russia right now, a lot of people there are confused by it and they don't really get it. Well, some do, and they think it's awesome, but Russian speaking audiences are a little bit confused by that. Like, well, why did you put shirt on everything? But that's kind of the point of it. It's just funny like that. And I was just like, no one's actually named their brand like shirt company, Rubashka company, right? So I thought it'd be hilarious to do that. And that's kind of it goes along with the theme of the brand. It touches on like serious topics, but I do it in a playful way, because history is really cool, but history can also be boring, right? Because a lot of the stuff I make is like kind of historical based. So I was like, I want the brand to be on that topic, history, because I think it's important and it's really interesting. But I want it to also be fun for this generation that's learning about stuff. So you see that reflected in the clothing and like the accessories and stickers and stuff. It's still playful, I have all these bright colors and stuff. But anyways, back to starting the brand. I got the name down, and no one was really taking it. There was like some foreign brands that had the name like written in English and other words attached to it, but it wasn't like trademarked or anything. And they were doing like, one brand was like doing like dresses in Pakistan or something. So I was like, that's not really close to what I'm doing, like streetwear here in the United States. So I'm not worried about conflicting names or ideas, right? Got the name down, and for a while, like maybe a couple weeks, I was just like staying up all night, like writing ideas down, getting designs down, just writing stuff out and planning stuff. And I went to bed because I was still trying to find out what would be the theme and like the overall ideas for the brand. And I went to bed, and I woke up, and I remember it was sunny, and I had a GP5, like one of those Soviet gas masks, on my bookshelf. And right when I woke up, I saw that mask there, and right away, like everything flooded into my head. I was like, dude, I should make like Cold War kind of themed designs, like, because I wasn't really seeing anyone do that to the extent that I wanted to do it, like especially showing like the Eastern European side of it. Because I mean, some brands, they show like, you know, they have like military themed stuff, but it's only like the US. And I was like, you know, there's lots of ideas and subjects that aren't touched, you know, like even in like Ireland or like in Germany or obviously Soviet Union at the time. Like people weren't really making stuff based on that, and I was like, that'd be so cool. And obviously like half of it is like US themed too, like atomic bomb and like Vietnam War and other stuff going on in America at the time. That's obviously a huge part of the brand. Like even behind me, you have that poster, "Peace is our profession." That's the Strategic Air Command motto here in the United States at the time. But anyways, I looked at the mask and it's one of my epiphanies in life that I've had for idea-wise, because that's kind of where the idea formulated, you know? It was looking at that mask and it was crazy. And then after that, I again kept staying up late. I was writing stuff and making ideas and making early designs and just being inspired by other designers with, you know, their cool Instagram accounts at the time. And eventually I made a logo. It's different from this one. I'll show you. I have a t-shirt. This is like literally this is the very first Rubashka shirt ever, and it had the original logo. You can see there. It has like both Cyrillic and English letters in it, and I think this logo still looks pretty cool. But the reason why I switched, it wasn't around for that long, maybe about a little over half a year I was using it, and the reason why I switched it was because I didn't really want to confuse like the English and Russian language like that. And also, I'm not really a fan of people make like those cheesy artworks of like, they're always what's the term? It's like stereotypes of Russian culture, and they use like Russian letters with English letters to write out stuff. And I think that's a little bit cheesy. I'm not really a fan of that kind of stuff. So I ditched that logo and I just put it in full Cyrillic, because the other thing about this logo is people that don't speak Russian or understand Russian, this is really weird looking to them. They don't know what these characters are. Like some of the characters look like they're English characters, but they don't know the Russian characters. So the word mark itself acts as almost a graphic icon, right? The characters are unique looking, and people don't understand what that means. So that's kind of why I chose it. It looks more flowing, and it has more of like a streetwear vibe to it. I think it's the characters are thicker and they are more like sportier and edgier, I think. The original logo, it's still a pretty good logo, and it took me quite a bit of time to design this, actually. Like I was doing this all day with like all the spacing, the letters, and like the little trademark thing and flipping these around. But it's funny because as a designer, that's what happens. But for this one, which I made probably 7 months later down the road, I literally designed this in like 5 minutes, and over the time it had minor tweaks to it, but it's kind of bad because like designers, they're like, dude, I'm gonna spend like 1 month and make a whole process book, and I'm gonna like make sure everything's perfect, you know, which is good but bad. And I'll make a video about that too, that whole designer thing. But it's kind of funny. I just made this in like 5 minutes. There's probably designers watching this that hate me for that, but I don't care. I like the logo. This logo right now is in thousands of places all over the world, and from my stats, millions of people have seen it, so that's pretty cool. And I hope tens of millions and billions of people will see it before I die. That would be very cool. At this point, it's kind of funny, I think my brand will kind of change the meaning of this word in some way. When people see the word, they'll think of streetwear and not just a button-up shirt. And that's kind of insane to me, like, just to think about that, like how much impact you can have if you get on social media and get all in that, because that's kind of the vessel right now in our society, is social media, to drive ideas forward and culture and concepts. So I honestly think that me, just this kid from Ferndale, you know, that's where I live, I think that that's my brand will change that word forever, you know, which is crazy to me. But anyways, sorry, I keep going off on tangents, but I hope you guys like this. It's all free flowing. So I made the logo, and then my next step was, okay, I gotta find a screen printer, because I know that printing shirts that's the process. You make the design and put a screen print on shirts, right? It's that simple. Some of you guys complicate this way too much. It's not that complicated to figure it out. Make a design, send it to a screen printer, right? It's that simple. So I found a local one so I live in Ferndale, and then Bellingham is farther down south. It's about 20 minutes from where I live. And I went to the screen printer, and they printed I only made 24 of those. So that's literally how I started. 24 shirts. It was like to start the brand, I probably spent, like, with that and getting like the Shopify store up and some packaging materials, stuff like that, I probably spent $500 for all of that, which is like nothing. Most of the cost was the shirts, but like, if you're starting a brand and you can't get $500 or less, like, you can even do it with less together, you've got bigger problems, because you can earn that in like a week doing minimum wage work, right? So like, if you can't bear a week of work to earn that, or like do like raking leaves or mowing lawns, this is not like an industry for you if you can't do that, because doing a brand is way more difficult than just doing easy like minimum wage work. So make sure you got your head on right before you start that. Sorry, I keep going on tangents, but I got the shirts printed, and my friend and I, the one that was modeling, his name is Andrew, he's a really great guy. We took photos, you know, like, I was like, all right, this is so cool, I'm gonna take my own photos now, not for other people, right? And I kind of stopped doing that. We took really cool photos, like, these are awesome. I posted them on my Instagram, like, I was like, okay, here's the launch day, and I also built the website up to that point. And now we're into March of 2017. So I was kind of started in December 2016, but I didn't really launch the brand, and the brand's birthday is on the March 22nd, because that's when I opened the website, and that's when in my head, I was like, okay, this is like the official launch, the birthday of the brand. It's now official, right? So we were taking photos, I posted on the website, and then I told everyone on my Instagram, like, hey, I'm starting a brand, you guys. Like, this is what I want to do, and this is what it's going to be. And people had a pretty positive reaction to it. They're like, oh, that's cool, go for it, blah, blah, blah. I opened the web store, and then I was like, oh, this is going to be sick. I'm going to get a bunch of sales. And I was like nothing. Like, I had like some friends and family that bought shirts for me. And I did make a couple of sales throughout the week from friends, but I was like, oh man, this is weird. Where's all the customers? And that's probably gonna be you, or you probably have a similar thing. In my head, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a cool design and put it on a t-shirt, show it to the world, like show it to my 150 Instagram followers at the time or something like that, and people are just gonna sell out, right? And then I'm gonna repeat the process and grow it, and just like what I learned from that, and this is one of the takeaways from this video, if you're starting a brand, you don't make something and customers come to you right away when you're growing and when you're starting something. You make something and you go to the customers, that's how it works. That's like sales, right? And this is mostly for when you're starting out. When you're a really big established brand, it's kind of the opposite. You're not really pushing stuff onto people. People are pulling stuff from you, right? They're pulling your item from the shelf. And that's a whole like manufacturing and sales concept, push and pull. But that's kind of different, and now I can do a video about that too. And I learned that throughout the 2017. I was like, okay, so I'm not really selling anything, but I'm still gonna keep going with the brand. I wasn't giving up. Some people like make one thing and they give up because they're not selling, blah blah. I wasted all this money. But I'm like, dude, you didn't even try it. Like, hello, you really think that businesses, 99.9% businesses don't grow or like blow up the first year? That's not how it works. It takes like 3 to 5, 6, like Jeff Bezos, Amazon CEO, he didn't make profit on Amazon for 7 years. So whatever you're thinking, just stop. You need to be patient, especially our generation right now. And I'm not ragging on our generation, but that's literally an issue, is patience. So later on in the year, I got approached by this guy that was kind of like a marketer on Instagram, and he took over my page, and I paid him a monthly fee, and he grew the page to like 1,000 followers, And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And as it was growing, I was getting like a few sales here and there, and that's really was like encouraging, because I was like, okay, and I was also making I made six designs that year, 2017, and some of them were like kind of they're pretty close to other like ideas from not brands, but they were heavily inspired by some brands. But then as it progressed, I started making designs that are more like my vision and more unique. And I'm glad I went like that. And people were buying them, like a few people here and there, and I was like, okay, I have like a proof of concept. Like, people are starting to get this. And there's people on my Instagram account right now that have been following me since that time, since before like even 1,000 people were there, and if you guys are watching this, you know who you are. You're awesome. Like, there's been customers since then. And so back to the Instagram guy, he took over my account, and I pay him, and he would organically grow the account. It wasn't like a bot or like getting fake followers and all that stupid garbage. Don't ever do that. So it was real people there, and it was growing. Eventually, he's kind of an idiot though. I'm sorry to be mean, but he just stopped. He had too many clients, and he wasn't giving enough attention to each customer, and I was one of the customers. And that's also a business concept I'll talk about. Sometimes getting big is bad if you can't manage that. So he wasn't really growing the account, and like I was paying every month for the subscription. So I was like, all right, man, I'm gonna just cut you out, and I'm gonna figure this out by myself. And that's what I did. I kind of figured out what he was doing, and I started doing that, just organically growing the page and trying to post content throughout the week. I wasn't posting daily. Like right now I post daily, and back then I posted only a few times a week. So that's what happened. And then at that time I also went to, so after this first shirt, I went to another screen printer to try them out, because why not? Why you can't just pick one thing and stick with it. Go and find other people, like go and try other screen printers, other places. I found another place locally in town. They were like, the quality was the same, I would say, but they kind of were more friendly, I guess, or I kind of vibed with them better than the other place. Not that the other place was bad or anything, like I have nothing against them, but I kind of was vibing with them more, and I formed a relationship with them, so they print my stuff. They, at this time, they still do. They don't make everything, but they make a lot of the stuff. And yeah, and like I said, you guys can literally just go to any local screen printer, find a place. There's probably like 5 in your town, honestly. And if you live in California, there's probably thousands. Like literally, there's like thousands of screen printers. So find one that works for you. And then I went to them, and they started making the designs. And I still was getting like just a few sales a month. Like I didn't really understand marketing, and that was the next big thing that would happen, and that's into 2018. And at the end of 2017, that's also where I met my girlfriend, but she's now my fiance, and she's a really big part of 2018 and how the brand started to grow. But I'll explain that in the next video, 2018 and all that. So yeah, there you go, you guys. That's how I started the brand. It's not a fancy story, nothing's complicated in it. It's just how I started. And I know this video is kind of long, so if you're still watching it, like, good for you. If you're really into this brand and you want to know the full in-depth story, there you go. It's half an hour long for part 1, year 1. And that's all it was. You know, I would say, like, in conclusion, what I learned from year 1 was customers aren't going to just come to you. You have to get to them. And I learned that you need to establish and develop a brand and like a theme and like a genre of what you're trying to do early on. Like, make it your vision. Don't look at other brands and just copy stuff, or on the other end of the spectrum, you're making stuff so generic, it's bland and boring. There's no flavor to the brand, right? Because each brand out there, it's weird. There's so many competing brands, but that's not really that true, because people pick and choose kind of the flavor they want, right? And streetwear comes in lots of flavors, you know. So you pick what you want and you run with it, and you find the audience that will like it, right? Like, my stuff isn't like a bathing ape babe. That stuff is like super colorful, all this camo, colorful camo, all these like patches, and their Bape logo with the ape face. Like, that's totally different style than what I have, right? So pick something you like to go with and run with it, and don't give up, because I know some of you have started a brand or trying to start a brand, and you're just like, dude, nothing's working out. I made this design, where's my customers? I'm like, no, like, stop with that crap. You didn't work at it. I know you didn't work at it if you have that attitude. And that's what I learned too. Like, even though I wasn't getting many sales, and I still put out six pieces. I still put out 6 pieces. Like, at that time, I was like not really covering the cost of the product. I had I still have a day job right now, but I had multiple day jobs, like doing yard care, and I was just using that money to buy product, and it was just being stocked up in my room, right? Because I really believed in the brand, and I knew that it would grow and get somewhere. So that's what I did, right? I didn't give up on that, and I'm glad I didn't, because now we're at year 3, and I'm still not going to give up. You know, I'm still going to push through and keep growing it, and, you know, keep making it as big as possible, right? So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I will post part 2, which is 2018, later on this week, and then I'll post part 3, which is the current year. Well, there's 2017, 2018, and then part 3 will be 2019, and that will also be kind of the current 2020 as well. So that's what I'll do. And yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for watching this video. I know it's kind of long, but I'll see you guys later.